Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother and sister-in-law see my daughter after they threw away her medicine? I have a 4-year-old daughter, Emma. I'm an alcoholic, but I've been sober for 2 years. And my brother was Emma's court-appointed guardian from when she was 15 months old to just before her 3rd birthday. I had to fight for almost a year to get her back. My brother and sister-in-law are still upset that I took Emma from them, and have called CPS on me numerous times and make it clear that they don't trust me to take care of my own kid. They love Emma and Emma loves them, so I try to take her to see them a couple times a month. A couple weeks ago, Emma caught the stomach flu from someone at her preschool. I'm in school full-time and had a midterm that day, so I asked my brother to watch her for a couple hours so I could take my test. They said they were happy to take her, so I brought her to their house that morning with her medicines, a schedule saying when she's supposed to take which medicine and the dosage, a bottle of Pedialyte and a few changes of clothes. I came to pick her up after the midterm, and half her medicines, her clothes, and her Pedialyte were gone. When I asked about it, they said they threw away all of her medicines and the Pedialyte because they were liquids, and they were already opened, so I could have put something in there to make her sick/sleep. Not that it helps much, but I never hurt my daughter or gave her anything that wasn't recommended by her pediatrician. They also said I shouldn't be giving her Tylenol and Motrin. Again, her doctor said it's fine, so they didn't buy her any Motrin. Then I asked about the nausea medicine, prescription, and they said they didn't think she needs prescription meds for the stomach flu. They also felt her clothes weren't good enough for her, so they gave it to their neighbor for their garage sale and bought her new clothes, meaning they most likely took her shopping when she was sick and should have been resting. I left with Emma and haven't spoken to them since, except to tell them they will not be allowed anywhere near my kid unsupervised. I'm working in Thanksgiving, so I was going to drop Emma off with my parents, so she could see my family. But I still don't want her to be around them without me, so I'm leaving her with her babysitter instead. Now my family is giving me a hard time for not letting my brother and sister-in-law see Emma, and are excusing what they did by saying they were just worried about her. Am I the a-hole for not letting my daughter see my brother and sister-in-law? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your brother and sister-in-law are sabotaging your recovery and relationship with your child. I wouldn't be surprised to see them talk negatively about you and your history as she gets older. You may need some distance to feel safer and have the mental capacity to deal with them. They don't know this, but Em and I are moving across the country in February. I think the space will be good for us. A bit of advice, I would not give a heads up. At all. I'll send them a postcard when we get there. They aren't worried about Emma. They are trying to sabotage your parenting efforts so they can regain custody of your daughter. It was lovely that they gave her a safe place to be when it was needed, but you've earned your daughter and deserve to be her mother without these people treating you this way. OP document this event of them throwing away her prescribed medicine. Names, dates, doctor's contact info, etc. Keep any text where they admit that and their other bizarre behavior that day. You may need it one day. I'm not a lawyer or caseworker or anything like that, but I wonder if it could be a good idea to call the doctor to get new scripts and ask them to make a note in the file stating that brother and sister-in-law disposed of the original dosage. If brother and sister-in-law try that CPS crap again, I would want that as evidence that they are acting vindictively and don't have Emma's best interest in mind, as evidenced by throwing out her prescription medications while under their care. You need to stand your ground here. They're constantly putting you in danger of losing your child by calling CPS on you. They threw away prescribed medication. They're acting as if Emma is their daughter and undermining your decisions as a parent. They need to be cut out of your and Emma's life immediately. Next story. Am I the a-hole for letting my son keep his twins' ashes? We used to have 3 kids, Jane, the eldest, and Castor and Pollux, twins. Castor died unexpectedly about 5 years ago, and so we chose to have him cremated. His urn was always in the common area of the house. Our daughter Jane, 24, was the first to move out a few years ago, whereas Pollux, almost 21, moved out more recently. When moving out, Pollux asked if he could take his twins' ashes with him. My wife and I agreed without hesitation because he was, in the family, the person who was the most impacted by Castor's death. Words cannot begin to describe how close they were. He didn't say a word for months when he died, and even years after his death, always sits down in front of the urn every day for at least an hour to think/meditate. Additionally, the boys always said and promised to each other that they would move out together and be roommates when they grow up. So we thought it would only be right to grant him his wish. Anyway, Jane visits us about once every 2 months. The first time she came after Pollux moved out, she didn't notice Castor's urn was missing. The second time, she asked if we had moved to earn elsewhere, and we told her, expecting her to understand, that we let Pollux keep it as Castor was his twin, and they promised each other they would live together. She did not take it well and exploded on us, yelling that he has no right, etc. We told her she can always just visit her brother, who lives closer to her than us anyway and with whom she has a good relationship with, to see the urn, but she rebutted that it was symbolic and that this was unfair. She left the house quickly afterwards. Now, Jane is sometimes prone to outbursts, so we weren't too shocked and still hoped she would just get over it. But now Pollux is telling us she's been fighting with him over the phone and calling him some nasty things I won't repeat. Some of the family members have suggested we just take the urn back home with us if only to restore the peace. But I feel like this is also about what Castor would have wanted. He wasn't expecting to die, so he obviously didn't write a will. But I'm 100% sure he would have wanted to stay with his brother. Even Jane agrees, but he's too dead to care. Jane either needs counseling or she needs to check herself. At 24, she should know better than to throw a tantrum when she isn't happy with a decision you've made. It sounds to me like she either has unresolved trauma from her brother's death, and or lingering unspoken resentment about how she was treated as a child relative to her younger brothers. I say this with a genuine heart, but it sounds like your daughter needs therapy, and your son doesn't deserve more trauma by her inability to handle her feelings. Overall, it sounds like she ended up feeling left out of a twin thing that she's probably struggled with since they were born. She needs therapy. She's already in therapy, but for an unrelated issue. She was in a mutually toxic relationship with her ex, and she's been working on her impulsivity. It's just that I do feel she has a right to be somewhat upset about this. Saying he is too dead to care crossed a line by a mile. That is unacceptable. Your daughter probably feels left out as the non-twin, and with the three of you, parents and brother, making this decision without her input. He was her brother too, after all. It would probably have been kinder to discuss it as a family. However, you're his parents and get to make that decision regardless of anyone else. Why not give Jane some of Castor's remains? When my mother-in-law died, all her kids received some of her remains in a necklace. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for warning my dad's girlfriend about his relationship patterns which led to her dumping him? I'm 16 female and my 45-year-old dad has this habit of dating college-age women and dumping them after like 2 to 3 years, then complaining about how needy and clingy they were. It's been going on my entire life and it really annoys me. Like, I feel like if he doesn't want someone clingy, a woman in her early 20s willing to date a guy who could be her dad maybe isn't the best option. It's seriously like he's allergic to any woman over 23. I've made half-jokey comments before about how I think it's creepy he only dates women 24 and under, but apparently I need to mind my own business. Even though I live with him full-time, so the women he brings over kinda are my business, especially if he wants to complain to me about them when he dumps them for being clingy. Anyway, so about a week ago, he introduced his new girlfriend to me, and she's 21, but could easily pass for my age. Like she wouldn't be out of place in my high school. I don't know, it really bothered me in particular that day. So when my dad wasn't around, I told her that if she's looking for a long-term thing, she won't get it from my dad because he'll definitely dump her before she turns 24 like every single other woman he's ever dated. And then he'll call her a pathetic clingy mess behind her back. I didn't think she believed me, because at the time she laughed it off and said it was different with her. But I guess she thought about it, and she ended up dumping him yesterday and must have told my dad what I said. Cause now he's angry at me for interfering in this relationship. He also says he's hurt that I think of him that way, even though literally all I did was tell the truth. And I think if he doesn't want to be thought of that way, he should stop being like that. Now for the comments. You told the truth. If he's offended by it, perhaps he should change his behavior. I can't believe you told him the truth instead of lying because we're family. Also, your dad is a grade A creep OP. Jesus Christ. If I saw any of my friends dating someone that old, I would hold an intervention. I would ask him then to hurry up and get through his midlife crisis, so you won't have to hear him complain about dating 20s then. Bruh, if he's been in crisis for like 15 years, we have bigger problems. Frankly, your dad's dating patterns sound predatory. I'm pretty liberal about age gaps generally, but if you only date substantially younger people and break things off once they're a bit older, it suggests you like holding a certain amount of power over your partner. And that's a glaring red flag. You were right to warn her about that. Yeah, this isn't like he happens to have dated a couple of really young women. He literally only dates college-age women, And there's been like 7 or 8 of them, not counting the ones I never met because he didn't date them long enough. I wouldn't be shocked if his Tinder is set to only women aged 18 to 22. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my mom's early when her whole family took Christmas photos? Me, 16 male, and my mom don't have much a good relationship. They had a bad divorce after my mom left my dad for some guy when I was 7. And I only saw her once every 6 months because she got married then buys with her new family. Since last year, she wanted us to start talking more and seeing each other. And finally met my 2 half-brothers who were 6 and 4. Then her 2 other step-kids around same age as me. I'm only with her on weekends. And the last one, they were doing Christmas photos they sent to the family. And I mean her husband's family and also my mom's. So like my grandparents, my aunts, cousins, etc. They had a photographer actually come. Everyone was dressed for it except me, and she told me it just wouldn't make sense if I'm in it since the pictures are also going to her husband's family side. But then I argued, well, our family side is getting pictures of his kids, so why does it matter? Like she said she wanted me to be part of their family when I started staying over since last year, but now they don't want me to include in their family photo? My mom told me it's not a big deal, and I just went upstairs while they did a thing. I don't know why, but it just made me really mad, but also sad. I didn't want to stay there for the weekend, so my dad came after sending him a text. My mom argued with him outside because it was only Friday, but I told her I didn't want to stay there if she doesn't want to include me in their family, and I'd rather go be with Dad. My mom is still mad about it. She says she didn't mean to treat me that way, but how I behaved after cutting out our time was mean, and that hurts her feelings. And I'm the a-hole for reacting that way basically. For me, it still hurts, so maybe that's why I don't see if I was wrong for cutting off our weekend short. Not the a-hole. Your mother is a terrible parent. She cuts you out of the picture, you cut her time. Simple. I'm so sorry she did that to you, and for how she treats you in general. And it's not like Mom couldn't have included him for some pictures. Like, damn. Cold-blooded. Not the a-hole, but your mom certainly is. I don't blame you if you never want to go back. She's made it pretty clear who should things off as her family. Thing is, I didn't even want to start seeing her in the first place. She wanted me to, so I gave it a chance. And after all these months of going to see them, now suddenly she doesn't want me included. Please protect yourself. I'm an adult in my 30s, and this would absolutely crush me. Your dad sounds awesome. He's your true family. You two should have a fun Christmas photo shoot and send those out to family. I haven't always had a good relationship with my family. When my dad died, they did family photos without me and I was an adult. Your dad sounds like a good guy. I'm sorry this happened. May I suggest having someone to talk to as when you're older? It's harder to do that, but it helps. I did therapy stuff as a kid, but mostly now just talk to my dad. He was cool about it when we left. We went to go eat, then had a whole talk we always have about how it's her and not me. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for demanding my parents spend the same amount of money they spend on my autistic brother every month? I, male 16, have an autistic brother, male 14, with lots of medical needs. We don't have a close relationship because of his behavior in general. And my parents both work high-paying jobs, have been focusing all their attention on him, which is sort of fine with me, by the way. Here's the problem. My parents were doing some calculating and looking at what they spend on my brother yearly, which was a lot. But they decided to increase their budget for him by dedicating about $400 a month to my brother. Thing is, my allowance is barely $100 a month. I found out and blew up at my parents and asked for equality, and to either split the money between me and my brother or make my allowance same as him. But they told me off explaining that my brother has medical needs and require doctor's appointments and medication that they need money for, while I'm perfectly healthy. I pointed out how unfair they have been, and how they were obviously playing favorites and causing me to resent my brother and driving a wedge between us here. But their argument that I should not hate my brother since the money goes to medication and whatnot, and not clothes and toys. After further arguing, my dad called me an overprivileged spoiled brat who had no right to demand anything from them, and that I should consider myself lucky I still get $100 allowance, when I'm perfectly capable to work if I don't like it so much. I'm now indefinitely grounded for demanding to be treated equally to my brother and pointing out their favoritism. You're the a-hole and entitled. Your parents owe you a shelter, food, clothes, and education. They don't owe you an allowance and luxuries. Your brother has medical needs. You have superficial wants. If you really want things to be equal with your brother, maybe you should take some of his medical issues so things could be fair all around. I completely agree. There is a huge difference between spending money on a kid's medical treatment and giving a kid an allowance for whatever BS they want to buy. He needs to get a job if he wants more. My son is close to his age. He gets $10 per week and must do his chores to get that. $100 per month allowance is a lot. He needs to show appreciation to his parents. I'm so sorry for you, Opie. It might be so difficult to have a cold heart. You don't care to not have much attention from your parents. Well, you would be totally entitled to share this feeling. But you were so upset to not have your $400 allowance a month. In what world do you live in? Don't you see that this is not an allowance for your brother but medical expenses? Tell me how much of the $400 your brother is spending for fun things. Pretty sure that your brother will be happy to do without going to the doctor regularly, but instead having the same life as yours. Be a good person, have some empathy for your family, and don't be a greedy person. Jeez, you are only 16 and you already place money over feelings. Need money? Get a job. By the way, you're the a-hole.